Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Julie Coraccio, author of Got Clutter, 365 Journal Prompt Series. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hopefully I didn't butcher your last name too badly.
No, perfect. A+.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Question number 1. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Well, I'm kind of bummed out if we can only limit it to one, but I would say, in addition to rewriting, it is worth it for you to invest in an editor because it's your baby, it's your masterpiece. And what I've done is I have a grammar editor and I have a content editor where I have someone, everything that I learned in English, I have forgotten. And so they just look at all the grammar. And then the other person content, like I'm working on something now and they're like, I don't get this. This doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it. Where in my mind, I think it's clear and, oh my gosh, of course this is easily understandable. Nope. So it's very valuable to have two different editors.
Well, you bring up a great point. I get this question a lot, and that is, what is the number one thing that you want to have with your book? And I was saying you need two things. One, you need a great-looking book cover with a title, compelling subtitle. But the number two thing you need more than anything, in my view, is a well-edited, professional-looking book.
I agree with you 1,000%. And someone had given me that advice, and I took it. And I would encourage you, there are all these different options. And I think it's important to find someone to do your cover that gets you, gets your material, understands your vision. And, if you are writing a bodice-ripping romance novel, you're probably not going to want someone who designs covers for educational books. So find an illustrator that's doing your genre.
Yeah, and if it's education, it needs to be a very specific education.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You always want to have it directly for that genre and making sure that they have experience with that particular spot. So what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
For me, the challenge would be, now I'm self-publishing, but what's great is there are a lot of smaller printing places out there, so you can find someone that does your niche. But I think it's having someone who gets your vision. And someone might reject your proposal because they just don't get it. And the thing that I love about self-publishing is if you've got a vision and you've written a book, you can make it happen.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of the publishing journey, one of the biggest things, as you know, is marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that has worked well.
I have a podcast. My podcast is Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out, and I've been doing it since September 2014. So I had to build an audience. And so it's not, I don't run commercials all the time for the books because I think that turns people off, but I use a podcast. And what I also do is when I record my podcast, I do it in video. So I also have a YouTube channel. And so utilizing YouTube and podcasts has been huge for me.
And it's such a great way to repurpose your content too.
And
to have
it really is.
So you've had your podcast for 3 years, you mentioned, right? So how are you connecting that with the book?
Well, because different subjects on the podcast are in the book, and I do it that way. And then I'm very much give examples, real life stories, because people can connect in that. Oh, I can see myself in that story. Oh, that makes sense to me. Oh, she had clutter like I did. And so getting them to kind of have that aha moment and to see themselves and to be like, one, they're not alone, but two, to connect how they have clutter.
Excellent. And in addition to the podcast, what are some other strategies that you're using with your launch?
Well, social media, obviously, I will be really happy someday when I don't have to do social media. But unfortunately, I haven't reached that point. So, what I'd say is, I would suggest give your book to people to pre-read before you launch. Get those raving fans, be like, oh my gosh, you completely have to check this out. And you might have a different thought on this, Paul. To me now, when I see Amazon bestseller, it means nothing to me because you can game the system. You can pay $5,000 and have someone make you the bestseller for the day or take a course on how to do it. So to me, it doesn't necessarily have value. And other people, you might disagree with that. And so find your raving fans, let them review the books, give honest reviews. If someone has all 5 stars, yeah, maybe it is just one of those epic masterpieces, but maybe they're fake reviews. But have people give you honest reviews. And then if they love it, say, please, will you share? How can we connect? And get them involved in helping spread the word about your book.
Well, I love what you said about the number one bestseller because in some ways it is gimmicked. I mean, I've seen other, I remember I went on about a 5-minute rant on one of our previous shows because there was this guy out there that would set up these little conferences. He would get all these aspiring authors together to just about read. They just got their books out. They're publishing it. Oh, okay, what we're going to do is we're all going to buy each other's books, and then we're all going to be a number one bestseller. And I think that's a bunch of crap. One of the things that we do with our marketing service is my expectation for any book, if your book is a true number one bestseller, it's not a bestseller for an hour and then you do a print screen, you call yourself a bestseller. That's BS. Yeah. It's got to be like a movie. So a good example, Captain Marvel's coming out. So how's that going to be a number one movie? Because it will do sales over the weekend and over a week. It's just like a new CD or a new album, like when Lady Gaga's movie came out, Star is Born. That album did extremely well, and I think one of her songs right now, Shallow, if I'm not mistaken, is a number one song in the country, but it's been number one for at least a week. And that's the same rules that I use, is that your book needs to be number one in at least one category for a week. Because here's the thing, Amazon looks at that, and if you're a number one bestseller for 5 seconds, your book's going to fall into the Amazon rainforest. But if you had that book number one for weeks and months at a time, and even if it does drop to number 2, number 3, even to number 10, you do a relaunch and it goes back up to number 1 for a little while, then that's more of a proper way to do it. But yeah, these people that just game the system and go, yay, my book's number one bestseller. Or if they put the book for free and then it's number one, I was like, come on, that does not count as a bestseller. And I've had publishing pals of mine do that. I'm like, guys, you're gimmicking the system. We don't do that over here. We always talk about our core values, and our core values are always truth and service. And anytime I'm talking to potential partners, even book marketers, if they can answer that question in 5 seconds, I don't work with them. And it's exactly why, because they want to game the system, be a number one bestseller for 5 minutes and it counts. I think that's a bunch of crap.
Right. I'm with you 100% on that. And it's the longevity that is important. And you have to trust, you'll find your audience. You'll find the people that are going to get your book and are going to see value with it.
Well, the other thing, too, is running your book like a business. Because, yes, you can make nice money on the front end in regards to royalties, but where you make the life-changing money, because that's what happened to us. We made the life-changing money on the back end with offering coaching and publishing service and being able to do that. And the main thing is running your book like a business. And that's the most critical thing. It's not about being number one bestseller, this, that, and the other. It's actually running your book properly and like a business where you're able to sell your back end services, but most importantly, that you can help your readers in their journey. And you do that, everything else takes care of itself.
Absolutely. And that's, one of the reasons that I wrote my books is to support my coaching. It's like, here is another avenue. Like we have podcast is a certain audience, YouTube is a certain audience, and now getting it published and putting it on Amazon. And also when I speak. So, hey, you enjoyed my talk. Here's something that can support you as well.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of books, let's talk about your favorite book. So what is your favorite book? And what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Well, this is kind of like Sophie's Choice, having me have to choose a favorite book. But today we're going to go with The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And I wanted to share it with your audience because the number one takeaway that I get from this book, and this is a very slim book, I usually read it once a year, but one of his agreements is don't take anything personally. And I wanted to share that because it takes courage to write a book. It takes courage for you to put yourself out there. And especially with social media, you can have keyboard warriors who are going to take pot shots at you and just want to be mean and nasty. And so you have to be prepared for that. And so when that happens, you remind myself, don't take it personally. What other people do and say is about them, and how I respond is about me.
Absolutely, and I'm a little more blunt. I basically refer to them as trolls, and we even get that on books where we'll get a book out there. We've got 9 or 10 nice reviews, and then you just have one person who'll just savage you. And you know what? I don't look at a book as a legitimate book until you get that one nasty review, because that means you've actually stood for something, and that means that some troll took the time out of their day to slam your book, and you're thinking, wow, it's kind of a negative perspective, but it's not. That means, you know what, your book isn't going to be 5 stars. That means someone didn't like your book, and that's good, because it's good to have a point and a counterpoint, because that's going to make it a lot more authentic for sharing your journey with the readers.
Exactly. And that's important, but to not, and there's a difference, I think, between a well thought and well-stated criticism. You could say, it's just not for me. Like, for instance, I haven't, Marie Kondo, who's really big in the clutter world, haven't read her stuff. It doesn't mean, and if I were to read it, I don't know if I'd agree with everything. And that's okay. It's about your uniqueness, your vision. But when people get nasty for no reason, you got to just let those roll off your back.
Yeah, shrug it off, rub it off your shoulders, and just move on. And I guess one of the biggest challenges that people have when they're wanting to get their book out there, they're scared that they're going to get savage. They're going to get nasty reviews. Well, you know what? 9 out of 10 reviews that you get are always going to be good. You're always going to have that one little troll or that one person that maybe just had a bad day. You're going to get negative reviews, but it's going to be so insignificant compared to the big picture, because the most important thing is that you're sharing your story. And the best part is you get to help people in their own journey. And that's what you really got to focus on.
I'll tell you a funny story. So one of the funniest mean comments I got was on a podcast episode, and it was on YouTube. And the person's like, God, I hate the sound of her voice. And so, somehow I was able to tell, but they made another comment. So they'd obviously listened to the end of the episode, because whatever I'd said was towards the end. And, I just kind of wrote back and I said, isn't it great we live in America where you can choose who you can listen to, and just kind of had fun with it. I could have been gotten all nasty and upset and been out of shape. I'm like, I'm going to have fun with this, and they never commented again.
Well, and there's another little tactic you can use as well. So in the back of my books, I have one final page, and that is, hey, if you like the book, awesome. Just kind of paraphrasing it. However, if you didn't like the book, before leaving a negative review, reach out to me. Tell me how the book can be better. Show what we can do to help other readers. I was like, I'll make a second edition. And when we've done that, it really has cut down on some negative reviews. I mean, some people are still going to give you negative reviews no matter what. But to put that in there, to give them an opportunity, like, hey, if you think this book can be better, tell me. I mean, no book is perfect. One of my main philosophies that I teach my clients is, I teach them 2 things. 1, don't be afraid to take the plunge. And 2, done is better than perfect. But is the book going to be perfect? No. So tell me how it can be better, and we'll change it for the second edition. And just by doing that, I mean, you're not going to be able to take care of all the negative reviews that way, but it does help. And people can share their feedback. Well, I feel this area needs to be more. And I'll give you another example. So I have these travel books, and I do them for 2 reasons. 1, I like to share the journey with traveling, but the other reason are the tax breaks. So I've been able to write off significant money on my trips to Maui and trips to Las Vegas. But I got several negative reviews on my current Maui book because the pictures weren't in color in the paperback version. That was the only reason. But people kept harping on it, and I'm going, listen, guys. If I put this in color in the paperback version, it would be it's $36, and yes, you can buy it. I still had people buy it at $36. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, okay, if you want to do that, fine, or just spend the money for a few extra dollars and get the Kindle version that has all the pictures in color. But I'm like, I have to explain, to keep the costs down, this was the only way that we could get the book out there. So when I'm doing my next Maui book, which I'm actually going to be there next month, we're going to do it. I'm going to put very few pictures in there. Or if I'm going to offer pictures, I'm going to offer it like as a supplemental guide, because it's just such a silly thing to look at. But when you're constantly getting that feedback, you got to make adjustments.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. That's one of the best tips I've heard in a while.
Well, I'll tell you what, speaking of great tips, great ideas, one of the things that we love talking about in this show are quotes. So, for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Well, and hopefully I'm not going to butcher his name, but it's from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. At the moment of commitment, the entire universe conspires to assist you. And why I love that, because I think that's so true. You can spend all your life in your head, oh, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book, write a book, and never take that first step to move forward. And I believe when you make that first step, the universe steps up. It wants you to share your gifts with the world. We know when I was looking for a designer for a cover, I had talked to a couple people, it wasn't the right fit, and I literally just said, okay, I need help. I've never done this, and I need to find someone. And I don't know, someone told me about a site. I ended up interviewing a couple people and found the perfect match for me. But I took action. I said, okay, I need help. I'm going to do research, and then I started moving. So the moment you commit to writing your book, you're going to draw into your life the people that you need.
I love that quote.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, Julie, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Well, first, thanks for having me. And you can find me at reawakenyourbrilliance.com and learn all about me there.
Well, Julie, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.